Well, hello everybody. David Mitchell again, and welcome to the October edition of the Mayor's Monthly Video. And so I'm going to get right to it and take us right to the overview here. So we're fortunate today to have Shelby County Manager Chad Scroggins with us. Chad's going to give us an overview of all the great things that's going on in Shelby County. He's actually got a presentation he has to do in the near future for the state of the county, so maybe he'll give us a sneak peek there. Citizen questions and concerns, got one this month that deals with the fire department, so I'll talk about our volunteer fire department. Real quick, go over what events we've got going on in Columbiana in the month of October, and then a little recognition of some things that's happened. So we'll move right on. So Chad Scroggins, I'm not going to read you his bio, but it's here. You can take a look at it. He's our county manager. We're really fortunate to have Chad. He's got a great deal of experience, and he's been working for the county now, Shelby County, about 20 years. So he knows what's going on, and I'm going to turn the show over to Chad and let him tell you what's going on in Shelby County.
Yeah, so we just started a new budget year, October 1st, just like many of our municipalities. And so I think what's unique about this budget year is we're still focused heavily on public safety. The majority of the county commission's budget, as far as one sector, goes into public safety, and that includes everything from the sheriff's office to supporting emergency communications. EMS transport is a large focus that we have this year. Supporting our volunteer fire departments. There's a lot that goes into public safety, DA's office, a lot of different things, moving parts in that. Still a major focus for us. We have some unique things going on right now inside of like our capital improvements and a major improvement project to the jail here in Columbiana. Most of that is focused around mental health services, healthcare services, and some of our segregation beds there. That total project is $27.5 million, which is a large project for us. It's the second largest project that the county's ever undertaken. So the number one being just south of here would be our water plants. This year you'll see investment in starting some of the improvements to the I-65. We worked with some of our local municipalities to kind of spearhead getting the I-65 expansion to 6 lanes going from exit 238 in Alabaster down below Calera. The county commission, that'll be a $300 million project. The county commission has $16.5 million that'll go into that along with 2 partnering cities. Just south of here, we've got some water infrastructure capacity and distribution projects going on, and that is utilizing ARPA funds to put in projects into the ground that have a shelf life that's in excess of 30 years. We have our Park and Rec grant program that's coming out very soon. We encourage ideas to come flow back and forth with the municipality here in Columbiana and see what we can do to help with investing into recreation space. Lastly, I'll just mention the economic workforce development. That is a broad topic. Workforce development is really one that's hard to nail down. In Shelby County, we have the highest employee participation rate in the state of Alabama. We also have the lowest unemployment rate in the state of Alabama. And those two things don't typically go hand in hand. So employee participation rate is taking the number of people in the county and the percentage that are actually in the workforce or want to be in the workforce. And then our unemployment rate is the number of people who want a job that are not employed. So that's less than 2%. It's around 1.7%, which is basically anybody who wants a job can find one. But we want to improve on the jobs here in our area. We want to make sure that we have a diverse economy. So if we do have certain sectors that fall in the future, that there are other sectors that will help keep it going. There's some large projects we're working on right now, and we would want nothing more than to bring what the Columbiana wants back here into the area. We're working hard to recruit events. Certainly the facilities here in Columbiana are second to none. You provide regional space for meetings, but also here at the Arts Council building, you have something that's unique to the area. Liberty Day, I believe, was just recognized as the event of the year in Shelby County, which is something to be proud of. What the community does with the downtown area is unique in Shelby County. It's one of the strongest downtown areas that we have. And so I think there's reason for people to visit here. You have just south of here, Lay Lake and Beeswax Creek Park, which is the site for large fishing tournaments, but it brings retail sales and sales tax generation here in the city. What we want to do is make sure that we support the municipality here and do what we can to recruit businesses that y'all want. And that might be a hotel, it might not. It might be other restaurants, it might not. We're here standing by to try to help with those, and we've got ways to try to work with Columbiana. It's a unique place. Columbiana is a unique place, and certainly the county seat for many, many years. And we want to make sure that we're good neighbors here at Shelby County. With
if you could go back, Chad, I'd
Sure.
like to just add in a couple of points here. First of all, the recreation space and amenity improvements, and Chad mentioned the county recreation grants.
Mm-hmm.
City of Columbiana has benefited a great deal in the both recent past and not so recent past from the support from the county through those recreation grants. Most recently, we made some upgrades to Kiwanis Park and also new lighting in the softball fields,
Mm-hmm.
which we wouldn't have had the resources to be able to do that without those county grants. Interesting about the labor participation rate. We in Alabama as a state in general have one of the lowest unemployment rates in the nation, but we also as a state
Mm-hmm.
have the lowest labor participation rate
Mm-hmm.
in the nation. So it can be a little bit misleading. So it was very good to hear. It's the first time I'd heard that statistic,
Mm-hmm.
that in Shelby County we have the highest labor participation rate
Mm-hmm.
combined with the lowest unemployment rate. So that's good news.
Mm-hmm. We're some 20 points ahead on participation rate than our county to the north.
Wow, that's great.
Mm-hmm. It's good.
Okay, sorry.
No, I think it's a testament to the people that live here.
Right.
You know, they want to work and they want to be part of the economy and better themselves and better their lives. And so we find that to be a true positive. The good thing is here in Columbiana, you're adding new housing, and that will actually help meet some of the needs. We actually have a shortage of housing in Shelby County as a whole, which is unique. You know, we are not striving certainly to be the fastest growing county in the state of Alabama. That is not a goal at all. It's the best quality is what we're looking for.
Yeah, the phrase I like to use is sustained and manageable economic growth.
That's right.
So.
That's right. Quality is it beats out quantity every day.
Yep.
A couple of things that we're starting up, and we certainly appreciate the city of Columbiana and the mayor for participating in the CDBG program, the Urban County program. We think this will be a benefit. We're going to have some kickoff meetings coming up. The letters are going out this week, and so you'll have the seat at the table there to decide how to distribute approximately $1 million a year that'll come from HUD through the feds, and this committee will actually decide how that is done. In some areas, we'll get certain funding in one year, and then other areas in other years. So we're going to let the committee decide how to do that. But that's coming very soon. We think it's going to benefit mainly our low to moderate income areas immensely going forward. We have some continued investment in EMS transport services. And so what does that mean? The county commission has, for the second year in a row and continuing forward, they're investing about $2.5 million into EMS transport systems. So in this area, it's Southeast Shelby Rescue. So what we'll do is we'll take the burden of the capital expenditures of the ambulances themselves off of Southeast Shelby Rescue and our communities like Columbiana and surrounding communities. And the county commission will purchase those transport units going forward to take that burden off so we can have sustainable emergency transport services in this county. That is a quality of life issue that we really have to work on. At Beeswax Creek Park this year, we're going to expand the pier system for residents that utilize Beeswax Creek. Several years ago, we worked with the state Department of Conservation and expanded the boat ramp. Then we expanded the parking lot, but we did not expand the pier. And so you get a lot of boats in there, and there's not enough pier space. So we're working right now to get Alabama Power approval to expand the pier system there, so we can continue to recruit events and have space for just the average consumer that wants to go out and get on the pontoon boat for the day. We have increased our financial support to volunteer fire departments. We continue to inch that up every year. We in this area would be remiss to not recognize the work of our volunteer firemen and women, and we're appreciative for their efforts, and so we want to make sure that we continue to allow them to not have to worry about raising funds and worry more about training and things of that nature. We couldn't do it without them for sure.
So I'll just jump in on here pretty much on all of these things. Columbiana has benefited from the CDBG grants in the past, but we had to compete for those at the state level. So
right.
Now we'll be working at the county level. And I think there's an opportunity for us to collaborate in other ways as far as grant funds are concerned in that regard.
Absolutely.
EMS, the Shelby County Mayors Association, just about every meeting we talk about emergency medical services and EMS support. In Columbiana, we provide a facility for Southeast Shelby to base two vehicles, if you will, and some staff there. And the city also provides them a certain amount of funding every year. But
that's right.
So I think Southern Shelby County, particularly in the rural areas, the biggest issue is response times because of the availability of EMS services. And in addition to equipment, there's just a shortage of trained EMS technicians.
That's right.
And so as we talk about workforce development, there's an opportunity for us to maybe focus on seeing how we can develop a larger labor pool, if you will, in EMS.
That's right.
I'm going to go down to the volunteer fire departments. I'll skip over it real quickly because I'm going to talk about that from one of the questions that we had from one of our citizens. And so just wanted to throw in those two things about CDBG, EMS, and the fire department.
Yeah, Columbiana has a history of supporting, obviously, the volunteer fire department, but EMS transport. You have historically had the best in Shelby County here. In Columbiana, and so it's a large landmass area. So that's where it can be difficult when you have multiple calls. Lastly, I'll just mention that we continue to try to recruit events to the area, both to the lake, but also here to the Arts Council building and to Old Mill Square as a whole. We know that when people come in and have events like the Discover Shelby Fest that was just here a few days ago, it enhances like the opportunities for people to enjoy the arts, but it also enhances the local economy with sales tax generation. So we will continue those efforts and try to ramp those up even more. Columbiana has a lot to offer. It's a very unique place, and we certainly are grateful to have all the residents here participate in the community.
Well, I appreciate you being here,
Absolutely.
Chad, and
glad to be.
Thank you a lot. Now, hopefully, if anybody has any questions about some of the things that Chad's brought up, I'm sure you can probably send him a note on the county website, but you could also put it on our question site on the website. We'll try to answer it, but certainly we wouldn't do that on our own without going back through the county. So once again, appreciate it.
Thank you.
And we'll see you maybe in the near future.
Thank you.
You betcha.
Appreciate it.
All right. Okay, once again, thanks to Chad Scroggins for coming and talking to us about what's going on in Shelby County and a little bit about how the county and the city collaborate with one another. So I had one question that was put on our website expressing a concern about the abilities of our fire department. I've got a lot of information on this chart, and I'm not really going to go down each one of these bullets, but I'm going to just generally talk to you about our volunteer fire department. First of all, it is a volunteer fire department, and our firefighters are not compensated to respond to any emergency activity. So thankfully here in Columbiana, we have very, very few structure fires, but when we do, as you can see from the photograph on this chart, these guys are really putting themselves at a great deal of risk. It always seems to be that it happens at nighttime or some inconvenient time, but these guys, they answer the call, they come out to fight those fires, and they're not paid a penny for doing that. Now, our volunteers have to go through training. There's all kinds of activities that the volunteers have to do. They have to keep records that are required by regulatory agencies like FEMA and OSHA and the Environmental Protection Agency, FEMA being the Federal Emergency Management Agency, OSHA being the Occupational Safety and Health Administration, EPA being the Environmental Protection Agency. But I also put on here NFPA and ISO. Now, NFPA is the National Fire Prevention Association, and they are not necessarily, well, they're not a regulatory agency. But what they are is they're the agency that develops all the standards for firefighters, how to fight a fire, what kind of equipment do you need, what training requirements, etc. And then ISO is not the International Standards Organization, for those of you who are familiar with quality management systems. It stands for Insurance Services Organization, and those guys come out annually and they audit fire departments, including volunteer fire departments, and rate them on a scale from 1 to 10, 1 being the highest, 10 being the lowest. And the ratings that the fire department gets impacts the homeowner insurance premiums that people in that particular fire district will have to pay. As a general rule, I don't think I've seen, there may be one, and I apologize if I'm implying that there isn't, but I've not seen a volunteer fire department in the state of Alabama with a rating higher than 3, and Columbiana has a 3. So I think we're one of the highest rated volunteer fire departments in the state. Paid, fully staffed fire departments where they spend a lot of time on training and whatnot are generally rated higher. But even some of the ones that are paid and do have full-time firefighters in Alabama don't rate as high as Columbiana does. So we're really good in that respect. But the guys do a lot of things besides respond to emergencies. They volunteer to do various safety inspections around town. They do inspections on fire hydrants and things like that. And once again, these things, they're not compensated to do that. They do that as a volunteer. Now, what we do is we have a training session once a week, and to incentivize the volunteers to come out, as well as to reimburse them for their travel costs, they do receive a small stipend for each of the training sessions that they attend. If they don't attend, they don't get the stipend, and if they do. And then on the weekends, we do employ what we call station keepers. These guys are not technically firefighters, but typically the station keepers might be one of our volunteer firefighters. And they do various tasks around the firehouse, maintenance of equipment, facility maintenance, things of that nature. And those station keepers who man the fire station on the weekend are compensated. But if you see folks at the firehouse any other time, they're there on their own time. They're not there, if they're not there for training, if they're not a station keeper on the weekend, they're there on their own time, and they're still doing things as far as facility maintenance, equipment maintenance, record keeping, doing reports and things required by regulatory agencies. So we're really, really happy to have them. Now, as far as physical abilities, it is very, very difficult for all the reasons that I just mentioned about not being compensated, the time demands on people, they have to respond at all hours of the night. It's very difficult for us to recruit and train volunteer firefighters. So we're fortunate that some of the folks we've had for a long time, and maybe they're not as physically fit or as spry as they once were. I certainly know that I'm not as good as I once was as well. So, but there are still many, many things that they can do. They can train other firefighters. They certainly know how to operate the equipment, and they may still be the first one to respond to a fire and can get those hoses laid and get the water being pumped on the fire, even though they may not have the physical capability and be the ones that we would want to go in to a burning building to rescue someone. But at least they can get the process started until those folks who are trained and capable to do that can get there. So we are grateful for every one of our volunteers. Now, because of the significant challenge associated to training and equipping our volunteers, we applied for a FEMA grant in 2022 called SAFER. Every federal grant has an acronym. SAFER stands for Staffing for Adequate Fire and Emergency Response. So we know we need to have a succession plan, if you will, for some of our more senior firefighters. And so we're trying to recruit and train new firefighters. And the SAFER grant provides us money to do that, to the equipment that we have, to the turnout gear and equipment that's required in addition to the training for all the firefighters is very expensive. So SAFER helps us with funding for advertising and marketing to go out and recruit folks. SAFER helps us with training. SAFER helps us with equipping, with turnout equipment and all that sort of stuff. And it's also helping to pay for development of a retention program so we can keep those firefighters. We don't want to train them and then suddenly they leave. So we're working hard on doing that, and the goal was to try to hire an additional 20 volunteer firefighters with the SAFER funds. So I'll wrap this thing up again saying we're grateful for and indebted to our volunteers. But if you or anyone you know is interested in becoming a volunteer firefighter, please call us at City Hall, call the fire department, and they'd be happy to talk to you about what it takes to become a volunteer firefighter. There's something that you can do to help. Okay, so I wanted to real quick go through some of the events coming up in October. We just had last week the Shelby County Chamber Recreation All-Star Luncheon. It was here at Old Mill Square in the Grand Hall. And as Chad mentioned, Columbiana's Liberty Day received the 2023 Event of the Year Award as a recreation and tourism all-star. I've got another chart I'm going to talk about a little bit more about that. So I'll wait and handle that here in just a minute. So I crossed off the luncheon with Congressman Gary Palmer. Every quarter, Representative Palmer has all the mayors in his district for a lunch. He hosts them. He tells everybody what's going on in Washington, what the issues and concerns for. I've always enjoyed it. It's always been a very, very informative session, opportunity to talk to Representative Palmer personally about these issues. But he canceled it this month, and it's because, as you know, what's going on in Congress, and they're trying to elect a new Speaker of the House. So he needed to stay in Washington, and they'll be having some votes and things like that. So we went ahead and canceled that. So on the 20th of October, the Shelby County High School will have their homecoming. I put a little banner up there. Pretty soon you're going to see that the Columbiana Beautification Board ordered some really nice banners. Says once a Wildcat, always a Wildcat. And once all the hardware comes in, those are going to be hung on poles in front of the high school and the football stadium, etc., to kind of show the spirit, and with homecoming coming up. On the 25th, we have the State of Our County, which is a community luncheon hosted by the Chamber of Commerce. It'll be at the Pelham Civic Complex. Chad Scroggins will be making that presentation, the state of the county, and I'm sure he's going to cover, probably in a little bit more detail and with some more fancy charts, most, if not all, of the things that he talked about just a few minutes ago. On the 28th of October, we have the Main Street Columbiana Witches Ride, and that's sponsored by Main Street Columbiana. You can go to their website. And then on October 31st, Halloween, we'll have Monsters on Main again. And again, there's information on Facebook. There's information on the Main Street Columbiana and the City of Columbiana websites for that. Okay, so Recreation All-Stars. On this chart, what I've done is shown you we had a lot of local nominees from the Columbiana area and 2 award recipients. Now, those award recipients were obviously nominees, but to save space on the time, I just put them in the recipients column and not in the nominee column. But also nominated was Just a Tish Wine and More. They were probably nominated, I assume, in the restaurant category. There was the Farm Company, which is most likely nominated in the attractions category. And then, as Chad mentioned, Discover Shelby Fest, which we hosted here on the 30th of September, was also nominated. But the big winner was Columbiana's Liberty Day as far as the festival and event of the year. So we're really, really happy about that. I think people have been coming to Columbiana to see that for 37 years, And I think people understand what a good show we put on, and we're real proud of that. And then the Shelby County Commission also received an award for being the Advocate of the Year. And, you know, Chad kind of talked about all the things that the County Commission does to advocate recreation and tourism and economic development in Shelby County. And so I think it was an award that was well deserved on their part. Prior to that, I think it was the 27th September, the Shelby County Chamber has annually a public safety award, and I wanted to congratulate Officer Stephen Cranston from the Columbiana Police Department. He was our recipient as Columbiana Officer of the Year. Stephen is also a volunteer assistant cross-country coach with Shelby County High School, and he's also a school resource officer. So we're real proud to have Stephen on our police force, and I think he's doing a great job for us. So that's about it for the month of October. Again, keep those cards and letters coming in. If you got any questions, you can go to the website and you can ask your question, and we'll be happy to try to address those. So look forward to seeing you next month.